Hello and welcome. I am Zizix, and this is the Dreglord boss in the DLC for Elden Ring Night Rain. After far too many tries, I finally beat him, so I wanted to walk through the fight and talk about the build and some of my thought process throughout. So stick around if you want to see some footage and maybe learn something along the way. I want to start by saying that I typically play with randoms, and that was the case here, so no voice chat or comms of any kind, and I didn't get the sense that my teammates were duoed either. I've been trying to beat the Dreglord with Scholar so that I could finish his Remembrance, and I think that's part of the reason that it took so long for me to beat him. Learning a new character against a boss this difficult for the first time is probably not a great combination. But on the bright side, I feel really good with Scholar, and I actually really enjoy playing him. It's a completely different playstyle than any other character. For this run, I decided on an ult farming build. I haven't experimented much with an offensive Scholar playstyle, and I prefer his support playstyle, so I thought the most effective option would be to ult farm. For that, the most important piece was the new yellow relic from the Collector Signboard, which has increased ult charge on crits, ult charge passively +3, and of course, increased ult charge from defeated enemies. It is actually wild how quickly you can build an ult with this. Next, I had Scholar's Remembrance relic, the Cleansing Tier. This was important to me primarily because of the continuous damage on ult, and this was the best option that I had to get that into my build. And the improved affinity damage negation is a nice bonus here. Finally, I just needed something with items confer effect to allies, and the Augur relic was my best option considering my relic color limitations. And the added health on that relic is very helpful as Scholar doesn't have a ton of health, and of course, Dreglord hits like a truck. But with all that out of the way, I want to talk a little bit more specifically about this fight. I already talked about ult farming, and you've already seen one ult in this fight, and you're about to see a second one here. I have a few goals in this fight, one of which is I want to keep Striges debuffed as much as possible, whether that's through my ability, Analyze, or through my throwing daggers that you can see I've got quite a few of them there. My throwing daggers are leveled up to level 3, and so every time I hit Striges with one, it does decrease his defense. And while the mobs are here, I like to attack the mobs to let my ult build as quickly as possible. And that way we can get through his first phase, again, as quickly as possible. And so we get first phase completed here. I'm feeling pretty good about this run. Feeling pretty good about how my teammates are looking. I'll be honest, this was probably the quickest that I've gotten through the first phase for this fight. And so at this point, I do feel pretty good going into phase 2 and what that's going to look like. And for phase 2, since we're all together, I want to start by using the pickled turtleneck. Give my teammates some of that same benefit that I have. And then I still have quite a few items available here. I've got the daggers, the pickled turtleneck. I still have some warming stones. I have some fire grease as well. But again, as I said, want to start off by debuffing Striges. First, through my ability, I'm going to use a dagger here. And you might notice I'm using the Ant Spur Rapier, which of course does rot damage, which is one of my favorite weapons for Scholar with his thrusting sword with his thrusting sword preference. My teammate went down. It looks like they got rezzed because of our Balancer's Raid. We had a Balancer's Raid on this run, which I think was hugely beneficial. I think that all three of us might have gotten revived at least once from the Balancer's Raid. So that was very, very helpful. I'm actually not a huge fan of that raid, but I have to admit that the benefit that it gives is huge. I also have the Frozen Needle in addition to the Ansper Rapier. You can see my teammate has some frostbite damage with Hoarfrost Stomp, and so I don't really have to worry about the Frozen Needle all that much. As he jumps away and he goes up high, my only goal is to watch him as closely as possible and assume that he's going to come my way unless he goes somewhere else, because he moves quickly when he jumps off his high perch. Use my last pickled turtleneck there because I was next to my ally. And wanted to get close in here so that I can use my ult. Also figured that the ult would help res my down teammate. It ended up not being a very good ult because Dreglord jumped away right away and back onto the high ground. You can see it looks like my Undertaker tried to ult up at him in the air. And using my ability to get the debuffs going once again. And so that really is the gameplay loop. Keep the debuffs up as much as possible, get in the attacks when I can, although I really don't have to attack all that much if my teammates are doing a good job. There got a nice little res because the boss was distracted by my other teammate. Got the nice bubble, got the parry. Not gonna lie, I was very excited about that one. And that's just one of those little things on Scholar where if you know how to time it well, if you know how to use it, that's a really strong piece of his kit. Just missed the dodge there. Tried to dodge in. Got me down. Teammate's gonna revive me though. At this point, honestly, I see where his health is, and I'm not thinking too much about it. I still have quite a few flasks, which I did look at. But honestly, I've had so much trouble beating him that his health wasn't even much of a consideration. At this point, with my teammate going down, my biggest worry is trying to kind of slow play it, make sure to get over to my teammate safely, stay alive in the meantime. The last thing that I can do is die. I'm getting over here. I'm going to use a dagger so I can get a debuff on him once again and get the second debuff with my ability. If you're unaware with Scholar's Analyze, for the most part, it's not worth it to fill it all the way. If you can get it past halfway, that's mostly where you're going to want to get it. If you fill it all the way to debuff the enemy, it gives them reduced defense for one attack only. So if you're communicating, if you can get a crit on him, something like that, it can be really strong. But otherwise, it's typically not going to be super worth it, especially for the time that it takes to do it. But you've seen there's some times that I've had in this fight where I felt comfortable with doing it because I had the space. And here my teammate's down. I finally found what I thought was a good spot to get him revived. And so really focusing on that, I'm still not even paying attention to how much health Strigas has. I'm just trying to get my teammate revived, and I feel pretty comfortable doing it, especially once I get this ult off. And of course, Undertaker gets her ult once I'm able to ult. Strigas gets some big attacks, some big area of effect attacks in here. Undertaker goes down, but I'm not too worried because I got my first teammate back up. And then Undertaker comes back up because of the Balancer's Raid. Again, the Balancer's Raid was great. And look at that. Just like that, that is the end of the fight. That is a victory for us. And you know what? Like I said earlier, I wasn't even paying attention to his health. I didn't even realize how low he was. I was just trying to stay alive, keep my teammates alive. That was really my biggest goal. I hope this was helpful in some way, or at least interesting, entertaining, all of the above. Let me know what you think. Hope you liked this one. Until the next time.